Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday training here today. It's really great to see everyone here. This call is being recorded, so you can always reference this back in the InExpress Success Lab, just in case you want to reference the information. Today, we're going to talk about the SOR process. Just to give a quick background before I start sharing slides or going through the information. The SOR process was created. You guys see that? Yeah, can you guys see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay. So the SOR process was created actually by requests from the franchisees, and it came out from last year convention when we were in Chandigarh. We were doing a question and answer session, and a franchisee and a couple of franchisees were talking about how to obtain better pricing, especially for specific types of opportunities. So the SOR is not new to InExpress. It's actually it has already been rolled out as a program in Australia, and there's a modified version also in the US as well. Not sure about the UK. So took the principles and the concept of that program, and this was launched this year, for the entire InExpress network for India. So it allows franchisees to find ways to actually obtain better pricing. I mean, franchisees are always talking about how do I get better pricing? How do I get better pricing so that they can win business? Well, the SOR program that is a way to get better pricing for customers. Okay, so I'm going to go through the program with as much detail as possible. And then if you've got any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and Rakshita can call on you, and we can answer any of your questions. And we can even talk about any particular opportunities if you feel like that would be the right fit for this program. Okay, so strategic opportunity request is really mainly for three types of customers. One is like it's a potential customer. It's a potential customer that you run into and you are struggling to win the business because of pricing. You've gotten some invoices, or they've shared with you that your pricing is too high, even though your margin, let's say you put your margin percentage quite low, let's say even 10-15%, and you're like, oh, I'm still not able to win the business. Or maybe you find out that their pricing is even a little bit better than our pricing. So you have to see, I'm not able to win this business and I'm losing this opportunity because of price. Okay, great opportunity there where maybe the SOR program can come into play. The other opportunity is when if you lose a customer, and it does happen, so that you've got maybe a large customer you've got a current customer and they've been shipping with you quite often, and then all of a sudden you've lost that customer because some other carrier or some other broker or some other wholesaler has come in and offered your customer some better pricing, and you're not able to compete. So therefore, we've lost that customer, and now maybe a SOR, strategic opportunity request, will position you to win the customer back. Okay. The other opportunity is if you've got a current and active customer, right, where you are getting a percentage of the customer's business, but not all of their business. So, for example, let's just say you have a customer and they ship 20 times a month, and you're only winning 3 or 4 of those shipments, right? So we're getting very small a number of shipments from that customer. So there's a lot of shipments that they're giving to other carriers or other brokers or other wholesalers, and we're losing that business. And if we could achieve some better pricing, then we can win more of that current customer's business. So it's another great opportunity there. Okay. So these are the three opportunities. So I already see a hand raised, and I believe that's Ashwat. Is that correct?
Yeah. Good evening, Manav. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Just a question, recently, a couple of days before, we
Hmm.
had requested a spot rate, okay?
Okay.
As you mentioned, we wanted to give him the FedEx rate, okay? And we got a very good spot rate. That's what even I felt, that we have a very good spot rate, and we have given them. And in fact, the client replied and said that whatever price I have given, less than 40,000 he has got. So it means even if I go below my whatever spot rate I have given, if I go reduce another 30%, still I can't reach out to his 40,000 margin, whatever he has got, lesser than what I have quoted. So in this case, how do we win this situation? It's very, very tough to win the situation. And it was a heavy shipment also.
Okay. So this is a little bit different, Ashwat, to the SOR program, because that is a spot rate quote. So in spot rates, they fluctuate all the time, right? So for example, if you get a spot rate quote for 100 kg shipment today, that will change in a week from now. That will change in December. So it's never going to be the same. So when I in the SOR, when we're asking for uh, the opportunity to reduce our pricing, what we're really talking about is removing DI, removing derived income, and that currently sits at 5%. So that's the maximum, discount or reduction that is theoretically even possible that we can offer to a franchisee right away if they are approved for an SOR. So an SOR is really for customers who have recurring business. So this is really going to be more for when we're going up against our general rates with a customer. It's not going to be specific to spot rate quotes, because spot rate quotes fluctuate based off supply and demand throughout the year. So and it is so, like, for example, even if there is DI on spot rate quotes, for example, but again, we can't go below our the franchisor cost, right? So even if we remove DI on a spot rate quote, that's the customer might be still getting a better rate than what we have at all. So then there's nothing else that can be done from that particular perspective, other than maybe trying with an alternative carrier, so to speak. So you might try with FedEx, you might try with DHL. I don't know who the customer got a better pricing from. Maybe if it was with a different carrier, then maybe DHL or FedEx might be a better quality option for the customer. So maybe it's not just about price.
In fact, I asked him to give from whom you got this price, so that
Hmm.
at least we will come to know. If he says no, it is from Aramex, or maybe it could be UPS or somebody else, even the CHA
Hmm.
agent name. If I get it, so that we know that, oh, this is the agent who is given, or this is another service provider they have given. But he did not disclose. He said, Dashwat, definitely you cannot reach to this because I am getting 40,000 less than what you have quoted.
Yeah.
So
When
that
if
is
it's
where
so
it got ended.
significant, what I would say, another question, because if they're not willing to give you who the carrier is, one thing I would ask them is that is that quote through a freight forwarder, or is that through an express or priority service option? Because sometimes they might be getting a quote through a freight forwarder, right? So they're shipping it through a freight service, and they're trying to compare that to a DHL or FedEx, and you can't compare freight and like a DHL and FedEx, right? Especially when it comes to the quality of service and the pricing. And yeah, it won't work.
Yeah, it is true.
So
It is true.
so
And the
my
same way,
guess,
yeah, the
that's
same
my
way
guess,
what
is
I
that it was a
did,
freight.
I
Hmm.
just replied to him saying that what we have given you the best price, and we don't know this thing service will not be. We will give you the best service like that. I told him, and he said, "Yeah, I know DHL is a very good service provider, but when it comes to the pricing, we can't decide anything immediately.
I
But,
understand. So,
something
so
like
then
that
some,
is.
so sometimes when franchisees or people always say we'll give you the best service, right? Rarely does anybody say, yeah, we have terrible service or we'll give you okay service. Everybody says we'll give you the best service, right? So one thing to kind of ask the customer, or you could ask the customer, is, outside of pricing, is there anything else that you're looking for when selecting a shipping carrier or an option? And if they're only looking for the cheapest rate, then it may not be in Express, and that's okay because we're not positioned to be the cheapest provider in the marketplace. Okay,
Yeah,
so
very true. Yes, very true.
yeah, so okay, great question there.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. In the
yep,
end of the
yep.
day, we need to make a little margin also. If you don't do any margin, and for a heavy shipment, there will be a lot of coordination required. We have to call
Of
them,
course.
make them.
So
There are so many
then,
coordination required, and we don't get anything. Wasting our time is absolutely of no use in that
so
case.
that's when I was. So that's why if you find out from that customer, you're like, it's like that quote that you received from. Is that from a freight company or is that through a, you know, uh, priority or express service? And if he says freight, then it's like, are you aware of the issues that come up with freight when you're shipping things through freight? Because he might love the price, but he's going to spend hours tracking, coordinating, figuring things out, monitoring the pickup, monitoring the delivery, dealing with any issues. Whereas with DHL or FedEx, it's super clean, right? So so time is also money in regards. So, anyways,
Very
good
good.
question
Thank you.
there, Ashwat.
Thank you
Yep,
very much. Thanks.
of course. So, what are the criteria when submitting an SOR? And this is just general criteria. There's always exceptions to the rules. Okay, so I just want to make sure that this is like, but this is what we're actually looking for. But again, anything can be approved if you have the right business case. So, for example, one of the things we're looking at is that franchisees who have at least a year or older at tenureship. Again, not hard and fast, but idea is that we want to make sure that franchisees are winning business with our general pricing as much as possible. We don't want franchisees to be solely reliant on the SOR program in order to drive new business, right? It's not designed for that. Franchisees should be winning a vast majority of their business through our current rate structures. And then when they need the SOR, they have the opportunity to use the SOR program. The other criteria is that this SOR is not for smaller types of customers. These are designed for the larger opportunities where the customer is spending at least 50,000 rupees a month, not in margin. You're not creating 50,000 rupees in margin, but is spending at least 50,000 rupees a month. And we want to make sure that you're at least making at least 20% in margins. And one of the reasons is because we want to make sure that you are mitigating your risk, right? That you're making enough money and offsetting the risk from some of these larger types of opportunities. Additionally, we want to ensure that a franchisee is technically averaging from all their other book of business around 25% of margin. We do that because, again, we want to ensure that a franchisee is very healthy and is able to manage the risk. Because if you bring on very large customers and then they end up not paying, we want to make sure that you have enough book of business available to offset the carrier cost. So that's why we want to make sure franchisees have healthy gross margins of at least 25%. Now, keep in mind, the average margin of franchise owners across India is around 30%, 29, 30%. So the average margin that we're requesting is below average, for the SOR program. We want recurring regular shippers with core business, right? This is like customers who are shipping all the time. This is not like, oh, I have one very large shipment that's 5,000 kilograms and it's just one time. They do it once a year. That's not what the SOR program is for. This is for customers that ship regularly, that you get recurring residual income from. And so, and when I say core business, I'm talking about like the DHL, the UPS, the FedEx, like the core business carriers, right? So this is what we're looking for. We're also looking for like some level of evidence that you can prove and substantiate that the customer is getting better pricing. It's not you saying, oh, the customer told me they're getting better pricing and we should just believe him, right? We need something that says that the customer is actually getting better pricing. And it could be in the form of invoices from that they share with you from from their current provider. It could be with emails. So for example, if you're quoting 200 rupees per kilo on something, and the customer sends you an email saying, hey, I got it for 180 rupees per kilo. I was like, okay, great. That's very clear. We can see very documented that they are getting a better price, and they've documented it via email, and we can see what that looks like. So just something that substantiates, that tells us with some level of evidence that your customer is actually getting better pricing, so that we can support your approval. I'm going to pause here for a second. Does anybody have any questions about the criteria? Okay, great. So what's the process actually look like? So when you run into one of those opportunities, right, where you've got either you're a very strong potential customer, or you've recently lost a customer, or you've got a customer where you're not getting all of the business and there's actually a lot of opportunity from a current customer. So when you run into one of those qualified opportunities, you first need to submit an SOR form. Okay. And those SOR forms can be found on the InExpress Success Lab. And you will fill out the form to its completion, and you'll send in that form, and you're going to send it to Dinesh, Rohit, and Ritesh. And they are going to review all of the information in that form. They might come back to you and ask you for some more information. They might have a couple of additional questions. So they're processing the form, right? Their intention is to approve the customer. So they might ask you for some more information so that they can get to that approval, right? Once they've asked you for all the information and you provided it, they'll either approve or deny your request. The only reason so far from all of the SORs that have come through, the only reason we've actually denied an SOR is because we found out that the customer's rates are way cheaper than what we can even have. So even if we were to remove the DI and approve the SOR, you're not going to win the business because you're not going to have better pricing to offer the customer. So what's the point? Okay. Now, upon approval, let's just say you do get approved for your SOR. Great. What will happen is the derived income, the DI, would be automatically removed, not automatically, but would be removed from the customer at the time that the invoices are loaded into XMS. So the invoices come into XMS, somebody on the operations team removes the DI, and then you'll be notified so that you have an opportunity to make any edits to that customer's invoice, but the DI will be removed from those airway bills for each one of those customers under the SOR program. Okay. And the other thing is that we want to make sure that you're winning business. We want to make sure that we're honoring the SOR process and the program. So if you get an approval for an SOR and you're winning the business, perfect. Nothing to worry about. Just keep winning and keep growing and keep, enjoying that customer and the margin that you're getting. So what we'll do though is every quarter we do an audit. And this is something that Rakshita does, and she goes into all the customers who have been approved, and she just does an audit to make sure that, hey, this was a lost customer. Did we win them back? Okay, great. This was a brand new customer, and did we win them? Yes, the SOR process worked on them. So we're just going through the approvals just to make sure that the process is working and that we're actually benefiting from the new revenue that we're supposed to be gaining from these approved SOR customers. All right, I think that's it from my slides perspective, but I wanted to open it up to anybody if they've got any questions about any of the information that I have shared regarding this program.
Manav, just DI, just what is that abbreviation DI stands for?
Derived income.
Derived income. Okay, fine.
So I'm going to just call out Shadad here because I think I'm just curious. There was, I think, a customer that there was an opportunity that I think you shared with me where you shared with me copies of their FedEx invoices, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just wondering, is that an SOR opportunity?
It would have been at that point in time, but
Okay.
the customer, honestly, if we compare the rates, our rates versus theirs, so it's absolutely half that they were getting access to. So any which way the SOR, I mean, with
May not make sense.
absolutely, yeah, with absolutely 100% lesser rates wouldn't make sense. And in fact, about the conversation that Ashwath ji brought about some shippers who are doing freight and getting really 30-40% of the cost that we give, it's absolutely true that I have also experienced. A lot of companies, they, especially that they are shipping freights like once or twice a month, they actually reach out to 4-5 service providers just to gather the rates to see what's the most competitive. And which is where I believe my experience up to 3-4 months is we really do not excel there in terms of prices. So freight forwarders do make sense, and they do have like 30-40% lesser prices. So
yeah, that's a good. So from my experience, freight forwarders for sure, they have a place in the market. They're massive, but really the heavier the shipment, that's the more attractive freight forwarders become, right? If you have a 1 kg shipment, you don't use a freight forwarder. You have a 10 kg shipment, you normally do not use a freight forwarder. But as you get heavier and heavier, if you have like a 100 kg, 200 kg shipment, okay, yes, the freight forwarders are going to be more competitive in terms of pricing than like a DHL or a FedEx or a UPS, right? Because the FedEx, UPS, and DHL are considered more for small package. They're not going to be like designed. They can handle the heavier ones, but they're definitely going to be more expensive than freight forwarders. That's why freight forwarders exist in the marketplace. But there are some sweet spots. Like if a shipment gets to like 70 kgs, some people could use a freight forwarder, but really we've got some good programs with FedEx and like and DHL, where we can do a spot rate quote and we could become much more cost competitive against a freight forwarder. Will we be exactly as cheap as them? No. But also DHL is not designed to be cheaper than a freight forwarder. You will never find DHL cheaper than a freight forwarder in the marketplace. It's not designed for that because they are a premium service. It comes with customs clearance. It's so clean on the pickup and the transit and the tracking. Freight forwarders are a little bit more messier. There is one carrier coming to pick it up. There's a different carrier handling it. There's a warehousing component. There's somebody else doing documentation. There's multiple hands involved in a freight forwarding shipment, but it's much more cost effective for sure. So it's really up to what a customer really is looking for. What I do, if I'm talking to a customer, I'm not trying to compete with freight forwarders. You won't be able to from a cost perspective. What we're trying to do is open up our customer's customer to multiple shipping options. So what ends up happening many times is we run into a customer and they're looking for some options. And what they're doing is finding the cheapest option and presenting that cheapest option to their customer. And what I'm doing is telling the customer, I said, hey, we have DHL, we have FedEx, we have these options. Why don't you present multiple options to your customer and let your customer decide what they would like to do? Many times you'll find that the customer at the other end is not always choosing the cheapest option. Sometimes they have a sense of urgency. Sometimes they want to get things done faster, or they feel more comfortable with the particular carrier. So they'll select the carrier that they feel most comfortable with. And by presenting options to our customer can then present options to their customer. There is this assumption that everybody's always looking for the cheapest rate. And I can tell you that this is not true. There are a ton of people who are looking for the cheapest rate, but by presenting options and talking to your customer about presenting multiple options to their customer puts our customer in a better light with their customer. Hope that wasn't too confusing. But anyways, what other questions do you guys have around the SOR process, about the criteria, or anything around this?
Not about the process, just from curiosity standpoint, how many SOR requests you get a month? Just asking, like on an average.
It's different at different months. So I would say about a handful. So it could be like 3 or 4 SORs, maybe a month, give or take. So keep in mind, it's still relatively new of a program. We want to make sure that it can continue to be rolled out. We do have a number of franchises and customers who have been approved under the SOR program. So it's live, it's working, it's moving. We would love to see how we can continue to enhance and support, this program rolling out, right? Franchisees are always, whether it's in India or in any other country, they're always looking for better pricing. So the SOR program just creates a process to achieve some better pricing by the elimination of DI. And if that can help you win business or keep business or grow with a customer, perfect. Let's help you with that, right? You just have to find those opportunities. Now, for example, Shadid, you're a relatively newer franchise. So SOR for you, for example, could be where you're looking for potential customers. You're going to the marketplace and you are running across where you're almost able to beat the price, just not able to cut it. Boom, SOR. Come to the table. Again, the criteria is not hard and fast. Our intention is to get you to win the business, right? So
if I ask you to put up a number to it, how much would that impact be in terms of cost to the customer? Like, let's say we are there and thereabouts with the costs, and it's just a matter of 2-3%. So we have 5%.
5% is the DI. So you're removing 5%. So you guys have to run the numbers. So for example, if you've got a customer and our cost, I'm just giving more extreme example here, but let's say our cost is 1,000 rupees and their cost is, and they're getting something for 500. Okay, it doesn't matter, right? SOR is not going to do anything for you, right? Even if you remove 5%, not going to do anything, right? You have to find the right opportunity where we're very close to winning the business, and that extra percentage points would really make the difference in you winning the business and capturing some margin, generating some revenue from that customer. Boom, let's go for it. And so I know that there's some new franchises on this call. Again, the program is not hard and fast. It's designed to help you win business. So bring those opportunities to the table, just keep submitting them, the SORs, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible so that we can get you to get some approvals for you, and so you can win more business. And if that helps you, cool. Let's because that's a win-win for everybody.
And it is across all carriers?
It's across all carriers, but we try to keep it contained to to core carriers. But for example, what is that one service? We have not very many shipments under this. So I mean, I would say this is for most carriers, Shadid. I can't think of there's probably one carrier that's slipping my mind where I was like, yeah, we're really not going to be looking too much into that. and that's for that. That's the e-commerce, the global international e-commerce
Express
service. Yeah, Express Bees. Yeah, Express Bees. I was like, we don't have any real volume in there, and really, it's not a core service. Really, it's not something we're really pushing. But if you got something with Aramex, if you got something with DHL, with UPS, with FedEx, Blue Dart, great. Bring it to the table.
Thank you.
Ashwatji, I think I saw your hand pop up and then disappear.
Yeah, Sharadji asked me my question. I wanted to ask which are the services we are talking of, whether it is for all the services or any particular like DHL, Aramex, FedEx, and UPS.
Yeah, all of them. Bring them all to the table, man. Again, they're not. We're trying to help you win more business, right? We're not trying to restrict the program so deep that it's very difficult for you to win. Bring those opportunities to the table. If you got an Aramex opportunity, great. Let us take a look at it. Let us help you win this business if we can get you better pricing, right? So
I'm just asking you. Recently, the one which I lost for 40,000, which he got lesser than what we gave, no? So probably was there any chance that we could still go ahead for getting a better SOR? I would have tried, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's a spot rate opportunity, I would say this is probably not the right opportunity. But I would say one is to understand the customer. If the customer has lots of other shipments and there's a lot of volume where general pricing is competitive, or we just needed to approve an SOR so we can make our rates a little bit more competitive on the general pricing, then the SOR might be a great fit for this program. But it's not designed for like a bunch of spot rate quotes.
True.
Anyways, right? Because we don't control the spot rate quotes, right? Because they fluctuate all the time.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Fine. Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. Good. So think about your customers. Think about the customers that you've walked into where you've quoted something and they say, hey, it's a little bit too high. Great. That should be ringing bells in your mind thinking, oh, that might be an SOR opportunity, right? The more SORs you submit, the more SORs you will get approved and the more opportunity you will get to win business.
So here the franchisee cost will get reduced, correct? For SOR, definitely it reduces the franchisee cost, yeah?
Correct, yes.
Okay. That's how we get the margin if we quote slightly on the higher side.
Yes, right? But so this is why we want some little bit of proof. So for example, if you submit a customer that you're already making 50% margins on, we're not going to approve the SOR.
True.
Because you're just fattening your margins, right? And I get that, and everybody's looking to make more margin, but this is designed for you to win more revenue, bring more business over, right? Where you might be losing a little bit, and you just want to be able to drive some opportunity forward.
Yeah, yes, hold the customer under our umbrella. True.
And don't be afraid to run it, or don't be thinking I have to have the perfect opportunity to submit an SOR. It has to meet every single little thing. Just find some opportunities, submit the SOR. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see if we can help you win the business. So because if you don't win that customer, we don't make any money either, right? We don't win. So we want to make sure that it's a win-win. Sorry, go ahead, Ashwant.
Yeah. SOR, how much time it will take when we submit? Because the client will be on the toes to get the better pricing. So how fast this gets finalized?
So depending on how thorough and clean your submission is, right? If the form is completed correctly and you've given the right evidence and you've done all of the thing, then it should be fairly quickly within 24 to 48 hours. But if you have lots of data that it's missing, and there's a lot of back and forth between the reviewers and yourself, then you're just slowing down the entire process. So the more information you can provide on every SOR, the quicker the review team can make decisions.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Was there any other thoughts, questions, concerns?
जी, silent. कुछ तो पूछिए ना. Something.
Sir, already Manav has cleared my point now, because I have only one concern that what about the new franchisee? who don't complete their first year, right? So Manav has already given an example that he explained to Sharat. If he have some good opportunities and any franchisee have some good opportunity to grab the business, they can just submit the SOR, and after that we can just go through it, and we can discuss internally with the persons who are associated with the SOR project, and we come back with you.
Absolutely. So again, the criteria are designed as guidelines to help us, pick the right type of customers the right type of customers that we can approve for this program, but it's not set in stone. We're open to every opportunity that you can bring to the table. If you're walking away from business and you don't win, then we don't win. So this SOR process is designed so that you can win and we can win as well. Right. So that's what the whole point is. And so anyways, I just want to say thank you to each one of you guys for participating in today's Training Thursday. Again, this call will be shared on the InExpress Success Lab. And thank you guys so much, and happy selling.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Manav. Thank you, Ritesh.
you,
Thank
sir.
you, team.
See you guys.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.